Okay, hello there. So, some of you have been having a bit of trouble with your CBA and what is expected of you. Right then, so I have filled out this template which you already have and to show you what is expected of your CBA. Right then, so I've filled out my aim. So, my aim for this practice experiment that I've just made up, and this is the experiment that we did in class, this says that I am going to investigate how the temperature of water affects how fast an effervescent tablet, which is a Barocca tablet, dissolves in water. So what you need to do, I haven't filled this bit out, but you need to search. So the source here means whether it's the internet, it could be your science book, it could be a newspaper. So you have to do research and state what you learned from a specific website or what you learned from your science book. And here you're writing the website address for your science book, write in the name of the science book and the authors of the science book. Okay, so now you've learned something and you've got like an aim for your experiment. Now, this is the most important part of your experiment. This is your hypothesis. And this has an if, a then, and a because in it. So my hypothesis here, if I increase the temperature, then the tablet will dissolve faster, so that means in less time. And this is because as the temperature increases, the particles are moving faster, so collide more often and with more energy during the reaction. So this is the same experiment that we did in class. But the difference here is that you are now writing in a because. And you will be able to do that because you will have done your research. Okay, what have you learned? So you will have learned the reason why something is going to happen. Now, it doesn't matter if your hypothesis is correct or incorrect. It makes no difference. So my prediction, doesn't matter if you're correct or not. As the temperature increases, I predict that the tablet will take less time to dissolve. So very similar to your hypothesis there. Now your variables, lots of you were getting confused on your variables. These are what we were talking about in class, your cause variable, effect variable, and control variables. So for the cause variable, what will I change? Well, the only thing that I am allowed to change in this experiment is the temperature of water. Let's go back to our hypothesis. If I increase the temperature, I am changing the temperature. That's what I am changing. We've outlined that there now. What will I measure? The effect variable. So I am going to measure the time taken for the tablet to dissolve. Okay, going back here, this is in your hypothesis. If I increase the temperature, then the tablet will dissolve faster. This means in less time. So I am measuring the time that the tablet dissolves. Here. Now the control variables, and there's more than one control variable. These are all of the things that you're keeping the same to make sure that your experiment is fair and as fair as possible. So I am going to use the same volume of water. I'm not going to change that. I am going to use the same tablet size. I'm not going to use half a tablet in one experiment and a full tablet for the other experiment. And I'm going to use the same brand of tablet for every single test. Okay, so I'm not going to use orange flavor for one, and I'm not going to use, lemon and lime for the other one. Now, your experiment. And again, a lot of people were getting confused on what is expected here to fill out this table. So to make your experiment fair, you are only going to change one thing, I'm changing one thing in this experiment, and that is the temperature. So I will use the same volume of water in every case, the same amount of tablets. So really I'm repeating what's in my control variable box here. That's how I'm making it fair. To make my experiment accurate, and again, lots of people getting confused here. So to make it accurate, this is how you're measuring. Okay, how are you measuring as accurately as possible? So I will use a measuring jug to measure the volume of water. Otherwise, I don't really know how much water I have. I will start a timer at the moment the tablet goes into the water. and stop it when the fizzing stops. So I've outlined exactly how I'm going to take the time. And then I will use a thermometer to measure the temperature. And then how do you use a thermometer? You read it at eye level. Now, I completely understand if any of you are doing experiments with temperature that you may not have a thermometer at home. If you don't have a thermometer at home, that is no problem, no big deal. In that case, you can just use cold water, warm water, and hot water. Okay, you don't need to know the exact temperature. It's obviously better if you have a thermometer, but if you don't, that's no problem. Now, if you put water in the fridge, most fridges operate at about 4 degrees Celsius, so you kind of know that temperature. If you leave the water out in your room, in your home, room temperature is around about 20 degrees Celsius, so that'll give you an idea of what the temperature is. And if you boil the water, then that's going to be 100 degrees Celsius. So you would have a fair idea of what the temperatures are. Now, how are you going to make your experiment reliable? This is practically going to be the same for all of your CBAs. You're going to say, I will repeat the experiment for each temperature or each time. You're going to repeat it 3 times and get an average. Now, to make my experiment safe. So this is what you did, and sometimes you're kind of outlining the obvious here. So I will clear off my work area. Okay, so chairs underneath. Well, I know you're doing this at home, but you're going to have your chairs away where you can't trip over them. I'm going to tie back my long hair, and I'm going to use safety goggles. Now, I understand for a lot of your experiments that you are not going to use safety goggles, but just say you wore safety goggles anyway. It's always a safe bet. Okay, I want you to fill out your equipment list next. So this is part of your assignment for moving forward. This is everything that you need. Okay, so for my experiment, I need a measuring jug, my effervescent tablets, timer, water, mug, thermometer. And now I want your diagrams filled in on this document preferably, or if you're using your copy, you can draw it into your copy. Now your diagram has to be labeled. So here I've got my mug, my water, my tablet, and this is my timer here. So if you're filling it in on this document, the easiest way to do this is go to draw, and then, oh, it's not letting me because I'm recording. Oh wait, it is. So draw, and then, and then draw whatever you want. So here's my mug, okay? And then you draw in the water level or whatever you need to draw. Then you're going to draw in your arrows, and then we need some text boxes to put in our labels. So you're going to insert and text box. Okay, so here's my text box. And this here is my timer, so I'm going to put that in. And so on. Now, a big mistake that people make when they're doing their diagram is they just draw the equipment. So I have not drawn a thermometer by itself, a mug by itself, and a tablet by itself. I have drawn how the equipment is arranged. Okay, the thermometer is in the water is in the mug, the tablet is in the mug. So you have to draw how you arranged it. Don't just draw your equipment. Okay, and almost there, your method. This is really, really important. This is a step-by-step plan. I've given a bad example here. So bad example, I added I was hoping to say the water to it. Okay, I added the water to it. First of all, I do not like it in a method. I don't know what it means. It could mean absolutely anything. So don't use it anywhere. Tell me what you mean. Okay, so next step. I timed how long it took to dissolve. I changed the temperature and did this again. This is a bad example because I wouldn't be able to repeat your experiment exactly if I was to follow that method. A good example, okay, first step. I gathered all of the equipment that I needed for my experiment. And now you're saying what you did. Using a measuring jug, I measured, and you're telling me the volume, 200 centimeter cubed or 200 mil of cold water from the fridge. Or if you've got your thermometer, use that. I added the 200 centimeter cubed of water into a mug. I measured the temperature of the water with the thermometer, so every single detail is included here. And then you keep going on with that. Finally, what I want you to have a go at is start making a results table. So here I've got my temperatures that I'm going to do my experiment for. I've got the time that it takes the tablet to dissolve. And I've got my 3 runs, so I'm going to repeat the experiment 3 times. And then finally, I'm going to get an average time to make my experiment as reliable as possible. Okay, that's as far as I want you to go up to for now. I hope this helped. And very best of luck.